G'day. If you're having to mount, the Blum hinges and you're having difficulty with the plates, I have a solution for that. And that's this hinge template. Now, let's just go through the basics of it. Got a brand here, so if you buy one of these and in 2 years' time you want another, or you have some problem and you want some help, you'll be able to find me through that. Now, the other thing that's on here is the dimensions, the 88 and 176. 176 is the overall dimension of the template. 88 is the distance from the centre to the edge. Now you can see, if you look at that, there are 4 bearings. The front 2 holes are the ones you pretty much use all the time. That's only for where you have what's called blind corner hinges. That's where a panel is mounted on the door. So let's say this is the fixed panel. The door is actually mounted to it and swings from that other panel, right? Whereas this mounting that you see in a normal cabinet, the hinge plate is mounted here and the door is swung from a right angle to it. Okay, so what else is there in this? There's a viewing port here for if you make a pencil line. Now that continues down, don't know what that shows up. There's a vertical line there going down the centre there. So if you've got an edge where you've marked a line this way or that way, there's an opportunity to see it. It's easiest to see if you mark on this face here rather than the front edge. Okay, so that also becomes a little bit more discreet. If you make the mark inside the cabinet, the hinge will actually cover your mark, so you don't have any marks to wipe up and that kind of thing. All right, so the template basically rests against the front edge of the cabinet, but I have made this stock here 16 millimeters, which is the same thickness as this board. So you can actually use it inverted inside a space, and if you need to allow for 18 millimeters, you might push that back 2 millimeters. But you can visually see how parallel that is and drill the holes based on that. So you can even drill for doors that are mounted inside an opening. Of course, it is much more suited to mounting the doors on the face, and so the hinges really, they're designed more for that. If you wish to use an Ecodrill, if you've already got one, that's cool. If you need to buy one, look up here somewhere, you'll find a link. The Ecodrill, the clamp bar on it is long enough to make a mark at 88 millimeters. So the Ecodrill with those marks in conjunction with this template will be able to be used on normal doors with 2 hinges without any measuring. You can just drill the hinge holes, drill the plate holes, and everything just works. If you choose the 100 millimeter design, which is 200 mil overall, so you see 200, 100 in that space, that was requested by a customer from me some time ago, and so I made that size as well. 100 millimeters is kind of a nice rounded metric figure, but it does have the disadvantage that the hinges are in from the edge of the door further, which means on a door that's not very high, it brings the hinges very close together. So it's not ideal for small doors to have the hinges that far in. Taller doors obviously has less impact. So that's just an alert. I've settled out to 88 millimeters. There's a couple of reasons for that. And one of the main reasons is that it matches System 32. So it matches already established systems that were around since the 1970s. It's a European standard that's been around for a long time. Now this viewport, I've enlarged it from the previous model, so it's got quite a wide viewing angle, but also that viewport gives you a bit of a perch spot for your thumb to hold the template. So you've got a good grip on it. Your thumb does not slip in that hole, it bites pretty nicely, and it's a right angle surface you're grabbing into. So that's quite a good, it's good for keeping the precision. Now the bearings that are in these holes are 5 millimeters. So the clearance holes are correct for these templates. Let me just give an example. So the E-dowels that I sell on my eBay store and on my website fit the 5 millimeter holes perfectly. Now, if you do use a 5 millimeter bit, you can use them. There's nothing wrong with a 5 millimeter bit. It's a little bit tighter than I'd like it to be. That's okay. But you can actually cheat by getting a 3/16 bit, and that's just a tad under, a workable amount under 5 millimeters, so it gives you clearance. So 3/16 imperial size is actually slightly better for use for this kind of template. Now with those bearings, the material that the bearings are made out of is about as hard as the drill bits, right? So there's minimal wear, and the fact that the bearings allow it to rotate rather than chafing means, I'm going to say it's got an indefinite lifespan. I mean, ultimately they will wear out somewhere down the track, but I haven't worn one out yet, and I've had these in service already nearly 3 years. Here's one of the original ones, one that has been in service for 3 years, and the viewport's smaller. I've made little incremental improvements on this design with the new design. So at first glance you can see quite a bit of difference. The holes are essentially the same. The viewport's much better on the new one. Obviously the dimensions written on the front. If you happen to have two different templates, you can see which one you've got. If you need some other size, I can actually make whatever size you require. So let me know if you need something different. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Let's drill a couple of holes to see how this works. Now, in the past, I simply wrapped tape around the drill bit, so it produced the stopper. But now I've actually created these little conical depth stops. Now, they are pretty tight at the base, so you have to jam the drill bit in, which means it holds onto the drill bit. But ultimately, what is providing the immovable stop is the chuck of the drill. So you can use, you set that stop to whatever works to give you the right depth, right? And the narrow collar here presses only on the internal rotating part of the bearing. So this should actually last fairly well if you don't belt it around too hard, if you're fairly gentle on it. When I say gentle, you just can use it and it'll work quite well for a long time. I probably will end up selling these as a separate part because that will probably be wearing at a different rate. Not everyone will use them, and some might use them a lot. But you can see that conical shape also allows for the debris to come out of the flutes quite a lot easier because it's less restricting the swarf and whatever coming out. All right, so let's drill a couple of holes to see how this works. I have my doors finished 7mm down from the top, which I guess, because I'm reasonably good at eye measurement, and this is 16mm, so it's only 1mm above centre. So it's easy to guess the centre and go up about 1mm and drill a couple of holes. Right, so that's there. And in a perfect world, that should just press in and hold. And there we have it. So that's drilled precisely. Obviously screw it in, whatever. But when that's in place, you have your hinge mounting plate on. Well, I guess that's it. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, ask a question, leave a comment. Bye for now.